All right, Ross, you got any more back there?
So yes, I'm going to combine these two. So one is from an LAX 737 first officer asking about, saying it appears that the A320 base in Charlotte has been shrinking over the last year, and the rumor is that this is because Charlotte will soon have a 737 base as well. Is there any truth to this? And another is from an LAX 777 first officer. Why do we no longer have a pilot base in San Francisco but still maintain a flight attendant base? Meanwhile, bases such as Boston still stay validated, even though it could also be manned from other nearby bases and closed.
Who wants to help me with that one? Well, Vasu, I know it's about bases, but the flying out of Charlotte, 320 versus 737, do you know?
Yeah, look, we make no secret. We would love to be able to upgauge Charlotte, turn smaller regional jets into larger ones and larger regional jets into mainline jets. And it's not always particularly easy because the gates in Charlotte and the ground space in Charlotte is really, really difficult to operate. There's either regional jets or mainline jets, and it's hard to do that. So that will impact any future plans there. So we don't really have a concrete plan that says we're going to definitively put more 737s in there, but we would like to upgauge it into any mix of Airbus or Boeings that are there. That could impact basing over time. I'm not sure if JC or Sumit are here, but they could talk a little bit more about that. And then the other question about the LA...
I'll try that one.
Right,
so the question was, why do we not... we have a flight attendant San Francisco base, we don't know a pilot San Francisco base, and then something about Boston as well. Look, I'll just say this, and then Ralph or anybody else can help me with real details. But in general, know this about bases, that we work hard to make sure that where bases are all about being as efficient as we can with the flying. So we base pilots and flight attendants in general where we'll start trips and end trips. The most of them, excuse me. And when you start having bases where you don't have enough flying, you can get really inefficient. And so we're very careful about where we have bases, but we also understand very well that when bases have been established, changing bases on pilots and flight attendants is a really big deal. So we're very careful about making changes to bases, even though we could be more efficient. I will tell you today we have, for example, we have more flight attendants in Phoenix than we need right now, but we're not asking flight attendants to be forced out of Phoenix. We're hoping they move out gradually over time. We've communicated that to them because we know it's a big lifestyle change, and our flight attendants didn't have anything to do with that. That was a result of the merger. But having said that, if you look at where our bases are today, they may not be where if we just started this airline where we would have bases. They're awfully close. And I'm really careful with this because what I'm about to say might scare our flight attendants in San Francisco, for example. But if we started a new airline today, we wouldn't have a base in San Francisco. There's not enough flying in San Francisco to support either a pilot or a flight attendant base. But the company's always had one there. We're sensitive to that. Again, this all predates me. I imagine there was once a pilot base in San Francisco. Is that correct? Okay, and that was closed sometime long ago, before the merger. And the question is, why didn't you do it with the flight attendants? I wasn't here for that. I don't know what the decision was based on. My guess is, again, it was really inefficient. And I will tell you this, having pilots be inefficient is a lot more expensive than having flight attendants be inefficient. Your work rules are much more restrictive. You're paid more. And it costs a lot more than having a flight attendant base that's inefficient. So those are the facts. How that decision was made, I don't know. But what I know is, putting a pilot base in San Francisco is not something we're planning to do, and the flight attendant base in San Francisco, we're okay with, but it wouldn't be there if we started a new airline with this base. Is that all about right, Ralph?
Yes.
Sorry, Ralph Lopez runs IOC.
Yeah, from a flying perspective, we want to certainly have our crews where we can support, the level of flying and the fleets that we fly from those hubs. Geographically, it helps also, right, when we have, the bases in proximity to additional flying as well, and where we can build lines of flying that are efficient. And, so that certainly something to consider, right, when you think about San Francisco and some of our other bases in the Northeast, where we can complement flying with, hubs that are in proximity to those bases.
Yeah. Oh, and I left out another critical piece. Flight attendants can fly any equipment. Pilots, of course, don't. So that makes it much more hard to have pilot bases in smaller markets. So flight attendants can, again, they're not equipment specific, and that makes it much easier to have flight attendants in bases where we don't have as much flying. Really hard to do it with pilots. if we don't have a real enough flights originating out of there. What else?